What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing what I would call basically a guide to starting a brand new hardcore character. So I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4, and I know that if you're like me, you've been having a blast with Season 2. But one of the great things about Season 2 is a lot of the different game changes they've made has made making a new hardcore character a lot friendlier. And honestly, I think it's one of the best action RPGs I've played if you're looking to get into playing the hardcore mode. So, with all that being said, I'd like to discuss some of the things that I've discovered that have helped me play through this season of Diablo 4 on hardcore mode. So, let's get right into it. So the first piece of advice I would give is if you're playing through hardcore mode and it starts to become frustrating or feels like much more of a chore for you, I just would suggest don't play hardcore mode. It's definitely not for everybody, and sometimes I feel like, I don't even know why I play it. I'm much more of a glutton for punishment, I guess. But definitely, if you're not having a good time, because we are playing games, and that is the whole point of it, is to relax and have a good time, just stop playing hardcore mode. It honestly isn't that big of a deal. Now, with that being said, the very first thing I would suggest you do as you're making your hardcore character is to choose a class that you're very comfortable with. I know for me, that's Druid. And moreover, when you're choosing your class, make sure you have at least two different builds that you're willing to spec into because, getting those aspects now is actually can be quite difficult, especially because we're leveling so fast. So you definitely want to have multiple builds you can utilize just in case you get the right aspect for one build as opposed to another. And that will make your transition into playing hardcore a lot better. Not only will you kill enemies faster, you'll level faster, and honestly, you won't have to worry about the big thing, and that's dying. So definitely choose a class that you're very, very comfortable with. The next thing I want to suggest is to invest early on in survivability for your hardcore character, and that can be done a multitude of ways. So, as I said earlier, I play a druid. And one of the best skills on Druid currently is Bulwark. And Bulwark is really good because not only does it give us a barrier to our health, but it also breaks us out of crowd control effects. So if I find myself in a very compromising position, like I'm stunned, which happens a lot even now, or I'm frozen in place, I can just tap Bulwark and bam, right out of that crowd control effect, and that gives us enough time to possibly evade and get out of danger to utilize a potion, or to hop on our horse and run away safely so that way we do not die on our hardcore character. So whatever that is for your class, I would highly suggest that you go ahead and invest some skill points into those passives or skills because that will really help you on your way from 1 to 50 when playing hardcore mode. Another thing I want to suggest is that you probably avoid dungeons until you have a decent amount of mobility on your hardcore character or until you've reached level 20 and you can start to get escape scrolls to drop. And that's really because you want to avoid as many compromising positions inside of dungeons as possible because you can't utilize your horse, or you may in fact have the rare chance to run into that pesky butcher, which I'm pretty certain feeds exclusively on the lives of hardcore characters. So with that being said, go ahead and try out some of the overland events that they have in Season 2 because honestly, the experience you gain there is quite friendly and you'll probably find yourself hitting level 20 relatively quick. I would say within the first hour to hour and a half of playing the game. Now, once you finally get an escape scroll to drop, go ahead and bind that joker to a key on your keyboard if that's what you're using, or to the quick select menu with the D-pad if you're using a controller. Because you definitely don't want to get caught off guard and be fumbling through your inventory trying to use an escape scroll when you're getting chased down by the butcher or you've taken fatal damage and you need to get out of dodge as soon as possible. Now that we're on the topic of leveling, I'd like to go ahead and share with you guys my two preferred ways to level a hardcore character here in Season 2. And the first one should really be of no surprise to you guys if you've been playing through Season 2, and that's doing Blood Harvest events in combination with Tree of Whispers. Blood Harvest events are the brand new events here in Diablo 4 Season 2, and they are densely packed full of monsters that you can slay in quick succession to gain a lot of experience over a short period of time. Now, not only that, but they drop a lot of gear in these areas. So as you begin to level fast, you also obtain gear at the appropriate power level, so you never become under-geared as you level. Also, there are Tree of Whispers quests directly tied to these events. So once you're done farming these events, you can go ahead and turn in your Tree of Whispers quests for a nice chunk of XP, gold, some decent items, as well as some crafting materials for your elixirs and your gems. Now, the second way I like to level is doing dungeons. More specifically, specific dungeons that have densely packed areas that you can generate a lot of XP rather quickly. And that doesn't mean you have to complete them. So, for instance, my preferred dungeon to do in, I'm sorry if I butchered this, but Domheen Tunnels. Domheen Tunnels has a really nice starting area that is densely packed with a lot of monsters that you can kill in quick succession, and the monsters there are pretty friendly for hardcore playthroughs as there's not a lot of stuns, not a lot of freezes going out, and you really have to only worry about the big giant cleaver guys that will come in and stun up your hero. However, I know you've probably already equipped some nice defensive skills, so that way if you find yourself in those compromising positions, you can easily get out of them. And now that we're talking about dungeons, and then you've probably already farmed up a couple of escape scrolls from all that farming you were doing, let's go ahead and talk about two dungeons you should do to gain some really nice defensive aspects, and that's the aspect of disobedience and the aspect of might. And those two dungeons would be Dark Ravine as well as Halls of the Damned. So once you reach a nice area with your hardcore character, you have decent mobility and maybe an escape scroll or two, go ahead and do those two dungeons as those two aspects are key aspects you'll have on your hardcore characters to keep them alive and kicking while you're traveling through the different areas and leveling your character from 1 to 50 and then from 50 to 100. So now that we've farmed up a decent amount of stuff as we're leveling from 1 to 50 to complete our first capstone dungeon, let's go ahead and put a lot of those things back into our chest that we're not using. That can include escape scrolls, extra elixirs, extra aspects. You guys get the point. Go ahead and take that stuff, put it in your chest for safekeeping, because you never know when you might meet an untimely demise here in hardcore, and it sure does make that burden a lot lighter from leveling when you have extra stuff that you can kind of pull from your chest left over from your previous character that may have died. And my last tip for this video is to go ahead and craft yourself up an elixir of death evasion for your very first capstone dungeon. As these dungeons you have to complete the entire way through, and you really don't want to have to re-level your character back up to level 40 to 50 just to do this all over again. So that elixir of death evasion will come in handy, and it may give you that very brief moment you need to go ahead and use your escape scroll to get yourself out of a very poor position. That's all for the video, guys. I hope this video and all the information in it can help you guys complete your very first capstone dungeon as you level 1 to 50 with your brand new hardcore characters. And if you're out there watching and you're a hardcore player and you have different ideas, go ahead and leave that stuff down in the comments section for anybody who may find it useful. And for those out there who are just starting your journey, if there's anything I didn't cover in this video and you have questions, go ahead, leave them down in the comments section and I will do my best to answer them as I see them. But with all that being said, I hope you guys are having a great day or a great night, depending on wherever you're from, and peace out. I will see you in the next one.